Ghost. I've had hopes blown through me, torn, stepped on, burned to hell. Some even spit into my face. They take a knee, and our country is disgraced. Blood's been shed on me like rain. I felt their tears in every stain. No matter what you put me through, you can believe I'll always stand for you. Raise me up over the battle. Wave me from sea to shining sea. I'm the red, white, and blue. I'm here for you. Stop the hate and let's join hands and try and come together and make America great again. Monuments are coming down. They're pulling statues to the ground. History can't be replaced. Where men have died, time can't be erased. I've covered coffins coming home. I'm folded in a widow's hand. Many a wounded, dying man have held me ragged in their hand and raised me up over Let's all come together and make America great again. Great again. I'm the flag.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm trying to start my video. I see Rob's already in, and it's kind of hot here in Texas today. I know in El Paso, it's pretty warm in El Paso. That part I can tell you. Hopefully my video picks up for you guys. Interesting stuff today out there on in the news and things. You know how the mail-in ballot stuff's been going on, right? It looks like Texas Supreme Court is not going to allow the expanded mail-in ballots at this time. So that means that the people that stood in line at Walmart will now have to stand in line at the polls. Well, you know, I can't understand it in the first place. And I know a lot of people said that, you know, that are worried about, oh, I'm going to get sick going to the polls, but they sure don't worry about getting sick going to Walmart, you know? So it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, and I was also looking at some stuff today about this unemployment thing, the system being hacked in Washington State. They're saying, you know, that the FBI and everybody's involved in it, but looks like there's been a lot of fraudulent claims that have been pushed through a lot of the states now, and people that needed unemployment aren't probably getting it. And it looks like the money's going, you know, it's being direct deposited because everybody's in a hurry to get this stuff out here. But it looks like it was a Nigerian hack from what they're saying right now. You know, the other thing that came up was, you know, they fired the inspector general. Trump fired the inspector general of the Department of State at the, you know, I won't say at the request of Secretary Pompeo, but at a recommendation that the Pompeo gave him to fire the guy. The thing is, this Steve Lennox guy was an Obama appointee anyway. And now you got Senator Melendez and Representative Elliott, who are the chairs of the foreign relation committees in each house. Now they want to start an investigation because Trump fired him. The thing is, he was an Obama appointee. All of these career bureaucrats serve at the leisure of the president. If they were appointed by a president and an incoming president leaves them in that position, that so be it, right? But if he decides to terminate them, he can do that at his leisure. It's not something that, you know, people can, there's no reason to have an investigation. The problem is that they're looking to politicize having an Obama holdover be fired because they want to have that kind of influence over these inspector generals, is what I think.
Well, you're absolutely right. They're trying to connect that to the impeachment proceedings that he was part of the investigation team with. So
right.
He's an Obama holdover, and I think that like you said, he hired him. Well, Obama hired him. He let him stay on, but you know, he's still the boss. He can still fire him as he wishes. So I think the best part of that was that they replaced him with a guy that used to work for Pence back when he was over there in that state as well. So
okay. So I mean, you know, that's the thing that kills me, is because they want to start another investigation for what? To spend more of our taxpayer dollars so they don't have to do their job. We've got enough on our plate right now with this, you know, fighting this $3 trillion Nancy Pelosi fiasco bill. You know, she's calling it the HEROES Act. The only heroes that she's even thinking about taking care of is herself, you know, to make it look like it's her, you know, she's going to save the country by throwing us $3 trillion more dollars in debt. And hopefully, all the stuff I've seen going to the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, hopefully this thing dies at the door. I think what they should do, and I saw somebody put this on Twitter last night, and I'm sure you saw it too, was what they ought to do is when they bring that bill over, the Senate should tear it up just like Nancy Pelosi tore up the State of the Union address. I think that'd be awesome just to see that happen. Or maybe just have a shredder at the door and drop it in.
Well, you're absolutely right. My wife was looking at the all the extra stuff that they have inside this one. It's like a liberal Democrat wish list of things that you're just like, that's not
what the coronavirus, what this is for. I think if we cut all that out, this thing would probably get down to less than $1 trillion and still be able to help a lot of people. It just doesn't make sense on why we're doing these things. I just can't grasp why we have to pay for, why does somebody that's not a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident of the United States get a stimulus check? Why would you put that in there? And then they've increased the amount, It
makes perfect sense, though, if you think about it, Sam, because now the Democrats get to be the good guys that are like, hey, we're going to give you, $6,000, but those mean stingy Republicans get to be the guys that say, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So who gets to be the bad cop and the good cop,
Well, didn't the original stimulus bill, the original proposal, wasn't it supposed to be about $2,000 per person? And that got whittled down to $1,200. You remember Nancy Pelosi said that $1,000 are crumbs, right?
Yeah.
So is $2,000, that's just a bigger crumb, right? Or whatever they're trying to give out.
I mean, at least the first stimulus check, though, was capped at $3,900. This one's the cap is $6,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. I mean, think about it. That's a lot of money. You look at the we got 10% of the population in El Paso that make $10,000 or less a year.
Yep.
And then they want to give a $25,000, bonus or whatever to everybody that stayed at work in at a McDonald's or something like that, calling them heroes. Okay, I got it. They have a job and they didn't have to stop working, but you didn't stop working, right?
Well, it's funny you said that, because the list initially that came out was saying, as far as the tiers of who was essential was, hospital personnel that are taking care of the sick and people that need the hospital help. And then it was military, first responders. So you have your police, you have the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was military personnel and military contractors was up there pretty high. And then you had the other tiers where were things like, the grocery workers and.
Yeah, I mean, I
that list now, though. Now it's if you worked in a restaurant during all this time, now you're the top number one essential worker category.
But we look around and you look at the infection rates here in El Paso. I mean, comparatively speaking, across the country, El Paso's in good shape. Our numbers are spiking right now, and we knew that was going to happen. I'm sure everybody expected those numbers because the testing numbers have gone up. The more you test, the higher those numbers are going to go. But we still don't have, they want to do this contact tracing stuff, which I'm firmly against, because that's going to violate a lot of people's Fourth Amendment rights. And you look at the way that the city of El Paso was proposing to do it, that's even worse, Yep. And they're giving the money to a guy that, how much money has he wasted in El Paso over the last 5 years that he's been, or 4 years that he's been the city manager? And now they're going to give him another $18 million to start with to go out and blow on contact tracing or whatever for this. He's got carte blanche on it. And that's a problem that we have here in El Paso, is that nobody's accountable for what they're doing. This guy does whatever he wants and nothing ever gets taken care of. Somebody's going to have their hand in that kitty, I'm sure.
Of course.
Something else that came up, I was looking, President Trump today also, I might have been yesterday, but either way, he came out and he said he's looking at restoring 10% of the funding for World Health Organization, right? Which would match exactly what China pays. Johnny's coming in. We'll go ahead and let him in.
That's interesting because China owns WHO, so.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, why they own it, but we were paying the biggest chunk into it, obviously.
Of course.
You know, that's where a lot of people aren't looking at what the president has done to try and save the U.S. some money that's leaving the country. You know, it's not being used for American citizens. Anything that we pay for, even with the UN, should go to things here in the United States if
Right.
we're going to be part of the UN. And I'm almost to the point now that, you know, we ought to just kick the UN out and get out of the UN, you know, honestly.
Absolutely.
You know, how much money do we lose on peacekeeping operations and things like that that we're really not a part of, but we may be involved and we may put some troops in there that fall under UN command. I definitely don't want to see our troops under a UN commander, because he's going to try to force them to do things that, you know, are way against what we would do.
You're talking about the difference between how we run our country versus globalism. So
Right.
all the UN is the globalistic, you know.
Yeah. Well, everybody's pushing for the UN to be the global government is kind of what they're trying to be right now.
Yep.
That wasn't the idea of the UN. That wasn't the premise behind when it was created. You know, and we have all these other alliances we're in as well. And I think we're getting screwed all the way across the board. You know, knowing what I've seen and where I've been in this world. And I'm sure that anybody that's been in the military will understand that, because they know we get hosed. You know, we paid, look what they were paying per plate in Iraq and Afghanistan in the mess halls for a while. And it wasn't by the number of meals, it was by the plate. So when they were washing dishes, they were counting plates that that were put through to charge the government with. If you're going to do contracts like that, they should have been done at a flat rate. And I keep harping on that, the government contracting system, because we know it's broken, it's being taken advantage of, because we have the $1.4 billion white elephant, William Beaumont, out there.
Right.
You know, the thing was supposed to cost about $600 million.
Well, our representative doesn't know anything about the military, so there's that going for us too.
No, absolutely. Well, when have we had one that knows? When was the last time that they have a representative in El Paso that actually knows anything about the military? I honestly don't know if we've ever had one.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another issue, because I know that you can talk to the command all the time, but that doesn't give you the information you need to take care of issues that are there, because the command will polish, and it doesn't matter when they talk to a senior civilian official. A lot of times it's just a dog and pony show, and we all know how that goes. You know, it's just like going to the VA when Escobar has gone to the VA a couple of times. You know, I was down in the pharmacy one day when she was there, and they were running around like chickens with their head cut off. And it was an announced visit. You know, the way I see it, if you want to fix this stuff, and I did this in the Army too, you don't announce you're coming. You know, you show up. That way you can see what's going on, you know, and I think that's part of our problem is everybody wants to, put the polish on the outside and never fix the problem. That's why our military housing's in the shape it is now, after 9 separate secretaries of defense have done nothing to fix the problem.
Yep. They're treated as VIPs when they roll through there trying to do their visits.
Yeah. I'd rather talk, I learned that as a senior, to talk to the soldiers directly, because if you want to hear what's really going on, talk to them, because they're not going to hold back either. If they're pissed off, they're going to tell you what they think. You're going to find out what the real issues are, and you're not going to have somebody try to pull the wool over your eyes. And that's exactly how it should work through our entire government. Because everybody's talking about this oversight, that oversight. Well, we've got too much oversight, I think, in a lot of areas, because we got a Congress now that every time the president tries to do something, they want to take our tax dollars and start another investigation because they fired a guy.
Right.
I think, the president, when he came into office, probably wasn't thinking about how loyal some of these folks were to the last administration. But I think if I was going to be president like that, I'd go in, and the first thing that would happen is all those people would be fired. I think that's necessary to keep things clean, because it brings new blood in, and it kills our, it gets rid of some of those career bureaucrats, at least in that area. Looks like Johnny's trying to get in. Hopefully bandwidth isn't an issue tonight. Doesn't look like anything we've stalled. You in, Johnny?
I'm in, but my video won't let me go in there. Hold on, let me change over cameras. There we go.
Hey, there you go, man.
He's got that fancy background going.
Yeah, I know. You know how those journalist type people are, man. They got the hookup.
Yeah, we do the whole fancy background. Yeah.
Speak of Dog and Pony Show.
Right? We grab a flag and throw it behind us and we're good.
Hey, I could take back down the green screen and I could throw.
No, the green screen was ugly as hell.
Yeah.
No,
We're going to tell you that. That green screen was ugly.
Behind this green screen is the Texas oil field, Odessa Midland.
Oh, okay.
Flag. So I see you guys waving your flags today too. If I was,
Oh, absolutely. This is,
I'll move
we're
it
both,
tomorrow.
we're Americans, so we should display our flag.
I'll do that tomorrow. I promise. Our next.
Shows where our loyalties go. They go to this country.
Yes, sir.
But another thing I saw today, which I thought was real interesting, I hadn't brought up yet, is Joe Biden this guy has definitely lost his friggin' mind. He has completely lost it. He is blaming Trump for Cuba trying to get back on the UN Human Rights Council. But apparently, his mind, I guess he doesn't remember much anymore. He doesn't remember that Cuba was on the Human Rights Council during the Obama administration. But yet now it's a bad idea because I guess the president is not really, he doesn't care one way or the other whether they're on there because he doesn't listen to the UN.
I don't think that Biden cares too much about whether or not Cuba's involved with anything right now. As long as he can take the attention away from him and Obama and Obamagate and all that's going down right now as far as documents getting released, I think he's good.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do. And the thing is, everybody's still watching. So I don't understand how he does that.
The only reason why Obama brought on Cuba was the OPEC with the Cuban embargo. We were trying to
they got him oil.
oversight that. Yeah, the oil. So that all goes back to OPEC. That all goes back to the Cuban embargoment. And Obama tried to take credit for it, saying, hey, we're selling more oil because now we're selling it to Cuba.
Hey, we got the
Who
county
cares if they're
commissioner coming
communists?
in now. Yeah, Randy's popping in now. But
Yeah.
and I want to apologize to people that watched last night and have seen the rerun because we did that to show people what we go through every day. We have a way to keep people out of this system, but trying to be a little bit more lenient and a little more transparent. You see what happens. People come on and they don't want to have any type of serious discussion on the issues of the day or what's happening to our country. They just want to come in and upset whatever's going on and interrupt it with foul language, pornographic pictures and things like that were posted last night. I don't mind answering questions because we all do. We all answer questions and it's not a problem. But when somebody like this, when you get people in there like that are starting to ask this really off the wall things that have nothing to do with the conversation, you got to get rid of them. But we allowed them to stay in last night on purpose to show people that we deal with this on a daily basis, unfortunately. And this is what most political people have to deal with. Luckily, we have people out there, like right now, that are monitoring what's going on and can stop it before it happens.
Hey, Congressman Williams, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. I think Johnny and Rob can hear you. Rob's got a Florida straw hat on, I think.
Yeah, I see him. And I talked to Johnny earlier. We met finally.
Oh, you finally met?
Yeah. Well, we haven't met face to face yet.
But you
But
met.
hey.
Where you are right now.
Hey guys, last night Sam and the bunch gave me a hard time about my shiny head poking through my 18 hairs. Told me to wear a hat. So here you go, Sam. I got a hat.
Yep, and you got one too. You got that one. Very
Yeah,
rare.
I got a couple. Hey, I even have 2 Stetsons.
Yeah, but I don't own a Stetson. None of mine are Stetsons.
Well,
I'm not going to pay the
You're not
money for a
doing it right
Stetson.
then. We can't
Stetsons
elect
are
you then,
overpriced
Sam.
and overrated. Look,
can't
you go to
elect
the
you if
clothing
you're not wearing
sales store and buy
Stetsons.
one.
This is a souvenir from the Alamo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to get over there then. I like that hat.
That works for you, Randy.
Hey, if you guys saw the hat that I've had for going on 25 years, you'd laugh at me, especially now that I'm not as big as I used to be.
Well, what'd you have? You have one of them 10-gallon hats, the Haas hat? I
Well,
think you showed it to me.
it kind of looks like a Haas hat, and it kind of does. It looks like a regular cab hat with a cab cord, but it's about 10 times bigger than. It's a John Wayne style big hat.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
But I guess that's something else that somebody we know in common could bust me out. You know, since I go out and buy a Hatch Valley 5X Beaver hat. Well, actually, I didn't buy it. It was given to me by a friend.
Hey.
I guess I'm not a real El Pasoan or a real Texan.
Well, I saw that too. The people talking about, well, I've here's the thing. I've chewed tobacco for going on 45 years.
No wonder why your breath stinks.
Exactly. Hey, but you know what it does do? It keeps the cavities down and the worms away.
Well, good point.
But you got people that have smoked every bit as that long. And at least what I do, it doesn't get in the air or go anywhere, Put it in a bottle and throw it away.
Like you were talking about when I came on, it's people like that individual who tries to find any little thing to pick at and go overboard with it, or come up with some weird stuff and go overboard with it just
Right.
to cause problems.
Well, and that's the thing, granted, I did make something about, the other candidate, hanging signs at a church, which by the IRS code is not legal, right? As soon as you do that, you into a nonprofit. As soon as you hang a sign up or hand a piece of literature out, you've turned it into a campaign event. And the rules say that if you have one, you have to have them all, which means that they
Or
would
make available for them all.
Yeah, it has to be made available for everyone. And that's the thing. You still don't hang the signs up, and I have an issue with that. I mean, I expect people to follow the same rules is all I'm asking. If I have to follow that rule, then you have to follow that rule. Even our Democratic, I'm not, hey man, I've got to be
Adversary.
nice. Yeah, adversary doesn't do that, and she's a savage. We all know that. As a politician, she is going to be savage, and she's going to use things like that against people that if she has to go against anybody like that. And that's what I think people don't understand with her.
Yep.
Is she's going to turn that stuff on. She may be laying low right now. She's laughing because, she sees the friction, and the Democrats are laughing because they see the friction in the Republican Party here. And they know it exists, and they keep turning it. They want to turn it on some more, And it's funny that has to happen, but I honestly believe that our party here in El Paso is infiltrated by tons of Democrats just to keep things upset.
You're right.
For 55 years since Lyndon B. Johnson. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, but see, that's the thing. And, I talked to Johnny about this. I think it was yesterday we were talking about it on what, how long this system has been this way. And I can't understand, I know you can't either, Randy, why people haven't opened their eyes. Now, I think that a lot of people are opening their eyes now to what's really going on. And I think this shutdown actually made it even more evident of how bad these people, El Paso has been abused by their elected officials.
Well, look at the news clip that was on news last night with Veronica Escobar complaining about the Republican-held Senate not wanting to pass this $3 trillion bill. But she never mentions that it speaks more of marijuana than helping out small businesses. She never mentions that they want to give $1,200 to undocumented, or the right term to me is illegal aliens. I mean, yeah, we need to take care of them. She never mentions all this other pork that's in there.
No,
Uh,
he's not
he
going
just
to.
she just says we want to hurt, the people who are desperately needing this money. Well, no,
That's
we
not
don't.
the
We
case.
want it. We want it. If they wrote a bill that took all this extra crap out of it, then probably it would be a bipartisan slam.
I agree. And that's, I know Johnny's got something to say about it. I'm over there itching.
No, it's true though. Who cares about what you do? As a constitutionalist, I don't care what you want to do. But why put in all that filler? And this is why they put in all the filler. They're trying to get the liberal vote. Oh, well, we tried to pass the $3 trillion bill. Us Democrats or independents or anybody in up between, this was for legalizing cannabis. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt any individual. But then the liberals, the Democrats, the socialist Democrats, let me just be clear, they say, well, they didn't want to vote for this $3 trillion bill. Donald Trump is a dictator. That's not how it should be going. When we pass bills, we're passing bills for one entity, not a bunch of filler. That's what happened with the medical bill. That's what happened with the other bill. Donald Trump had to pass it. If not, the economy was going to crash in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
because
that's why the first one went through.
they added all that pork into an existing bill and changed the name on the bill and kept it going. The Senate came up with a little bit cleaner bill, I thought, and it wasn't going to go through the House because it didn't have any of the pet projects that the Democrat Party has been pushing. And that's the problem that we have with our legislators right now, is that if their bill doesn't stand on its own, they're going to take somebody else's bill and they try to use it as an amendment to get those bills through. But I honestly think that that any bill that does not stand on its own merit needs to go back and be rewritten, period.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Sam, is Congress has the power of the purse.
Exactly.
And they're holding America as hostages when it
I
comes
believe
to
that.
pushing their Planned Parenthood bullcrap, whatever bullcrap they're trying to push. That's why we see all these little unjust laws getting pushed, because it was underneath the Patriot Act or whatever it may be.
Right. And I mean, even the Patriot Act has been, way abused. You bring that up. And this is why the FISA things happened with General Flynn. I mean, it's funny how all this everything webs together, is meshed together and tied together somehow that we're seeing right now. One thing that Democrats fail to look at, or liberal people in general, or people that just hate Donald Trump, if he hadn't been elected, none of this trash would have been out there. It would have still been buried. And I think by him becoming president, he was able to pull the curtain back, so to say, somewhat, because they always go after, they've been going after him since before he was elected. So he is unveiling a lot of things that I think people are starting to understand just how deep the corruption goes within the federal government.
Well, he's not part of the deep state, so there's that.
Well, that's the thing. The guy isn't a politician like most of us. There's a lot of people running for Congress right now that aren't politicians. They're retired soldiers. They're people that actually care for America. They're not establishment type candidates. And we're not being funded properly through, the Republican Party, even though most of us are running on their ticket. Because if you try to run as an independent for a congressional seat, or for anything other than, say, a municipal seat, your chances of success are very, very limited.
You got to have that Ross Perot money.
Exactly. And what happened to all his money?
Maybe I should write him and ask him for some.
In the grave.
Hey, we have people from the grave voting on the Democratic ticket, so why not see if I can get money from him from the grave?
Yeah, okay. I'll buy that. But we ran through this, everything you look at is just everything right now is a circus, I guess, as far as politics go. And, you know, here in El Paso, it's been a circus for the last 55 years, like Johnny said, because it's all about you're being oppressed by one group of people or another group of people, which is not the case at all. You know, we saw that when Veronica tried to put the numbers out on who's been most affected by the coronavirus. You know, she did not put it out the right way. She skewed it, spun it so that it would, for her own narrative. You know, and that's what we have with a lot of things that go on. Everybody wants to put a spin on something. And when you speak what the actual truth is, you're the bad guy, always. You know,
Look at the letter that Judge Simonego sent to Governor Abbott.
oh, the one that did this?
Well, he said that El Paso's minority community are hit the worst.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask, not you, Sam, because I talked to you about this before,
Right.
but the other guys on here. Who's the minority in El Paso?
The
That would be
Latino
us.
individuals.
Are the
whites.
Latinos the minority in El Paso? Or is it blacks and Asians and possibly us, you know, white boys?
Well,
Yeah.
I think the answer to that question is kind of irrelevant when you look at this, the numbers too from the CDC
Mhm.
or anyone else is actually tracking in Texas. The minorities are not the ones being hit the most. That's just a false narrative that they're using.
It is.
Exactly. That's
And
just a
especially
play
all
on
the
words
numbers
they
they've
can
shown.
use to get. That's just a play on words they can use to get the people's emotions stirred up, and not think about what's actually happened and get them
Right.
to make an emotional decision instead of a rational decision.
Well, they
Well,
use
let me
half
hit you
of
with
the
this,
truth
Randy.
to put that message out there. And when you try to put the other half of the message out, you know, like I said, you're the bad guy for giving them the other half of the equation.
Yeah,
Let me hit you
I
with
agree
this,
with.
Randy.
What's
Go
that?
ahead. Let me hit you with this. They always say the minority. Well, look at El Paso, Texas. We're 56, 57% Hispanic. Now, the
81.
Democrat, 81. That's the biggest majority out of all of the United States domestically. Now, I've even talked to Brexit leaders about this. I even said the Hispanic vote will be the new voting bloc for the Democrats. They're going to try to consider us Hispanics minorities. I said, we can't do this. We can't, you know, Hispanics are going through the same troubles that you are, Brexit. When I speak to these leaders, I won't name them off. They probably don't want me to name them off.
No, that's fine.
I even said this, and they took a look back and they said, "Wow, we didn't understand that El Paso, Texas, the Hispanic, which is the most diverse city in all of the United States, pretty much, besides a few others, LA, California, that we're being hit like this." And
Mhm.
so, when the mainstream media propagates this to say we're disadvantaged, nobody's disadvantaged in America. You work hard, you will succeed.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter where you're from.
That's a great point.
They try to
You're
turn
right,
that on
Johnny.
us.
What you're saying is exactly what I've been saying for a long time. It's all based on your personal choice. It has nothing to do. You set your own destiny by the choices that you make. Period. You know, whether you're going to be successful or unsuccessful, it's all based on your own choices.
But when the politicians are saying we need to have reparation for blacks or Hispanics, that's all bullcrap. We
Right.
need to throw that out the door from day one.
Well, you
Well,
know,
that-
you can look at that and say, yeah, reparations for blacks and Hispanics. What about reparations for the Irishmen who are basically indentured servants on the railroads, and the Chinese, and you know, the list goes on and on.
Right. This is something that doesn't, this didn't just happen here in the United States. This has happened all over the world for centuries, you know, and even I've yet to see any country pay reparations for anything, you know, to a certain group of people, because this is where the identity politics thing that we have going on happens, because people are using identity to say that you are being oppressed by this person or you're better than these people, because that's not what it we're all Americans. If you were, like I said, if you're born here and naturalized, and even if you're a resident alien, for all practical purposes, you're an American by your nationality. You know, and that's what we
American is
have
the
to get
melting
back
pot.
to.
Now, when you talk about disadvantages or disadvantaged people, you take a look like the Segundo Barrio, okay?
Right.
That was always a low income area. That changed on and off throughout the decades, just like every other major community in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not the fact of where you live, it's a fact of who you are, not ethnically or racially. It's whether you want to take advantage of any advantages available. And
Right.
people who want to take advantage of advantages available want to cry, I'm disadvantaged. So that's why I'm not being successful. I took advantage of my white privilege when I was a kid, you know, delivering newspapers to make money. And then when my dad died when I was 16, I really took advantage of that and worked at a car dealership full time while I was in high school so my mom could pay the bills, knowing that I'll never go to college with my mommy's help or my daddy's help because my daddy's dead, and scholarships were few and far between. So I joined the Army and still sent money home. So my white privilege of being able to work my ass off, detasseling corn, shoveling crap out of stalls, baling hay, and then, you know, working through high school helped my mom get through those rough years until she was able to pay for all the stuff on her own.
Right.
I claim my white privilege.
You sound so privileged right now. How dare you?
My God. And I have college degrees. By God, I do. You know, studying at the bottom of a foxhole when it was my turn to sleep, or, you know, on breaks during field maneuvers. You know, it only took me 20 years to get my college degrees, but hey, that's my white privilege coming through.
Yeah, and Uncle Sugar had to pay up for the time that you spent with him. You know, that's
Hey,
the way.
did you guys catch that the NFL is talking about proposing that if you hire a minority as the head coach or one of the executive owners, that they're going to give you a third round draft pick? That's one of their new proposals they're looking at doing. It's sort of like
Well, if you want to make that really good, some of those teams use the first round, regardless, because there's some teams out there that just haven't ever gone anywhere. I don't think that would fix the system.
What's your name, Beef? What's your name? I see your name.
Oh, it's Rob.
it says beef tongue.
It says Beef Tongue, man.
I'm not gonna ask anybody a question with that name, but what's your name, sir?
It's Rob Dunlap.
Rob. Here's what even happened to correlate with what you're trying to say. They've even done that at the pseudo-intellectual level with the colleges. They get more money for hiring foreigner college professors than they do American, white, Anglo, whatever it may be. So look at the sports systems. Some people call it a slavery system. I'm not going to get that deep into it, but you know, when you were having incentives to hire different culture professors at the college level, a pseudo-intellectual level, because that's what college is nowadays. You know, it's pretty much worthless. And then we're doing this in sports. They're just forteing what we've already known. But hey, your favorite sports team got the first pick of the third draft. Congratulations. Everybody's happy. Nobody bats an eye. That's what they did with the colleges. And that's a shame. And that's what we're trying to talk about today, you know.
No, it's true. I just got a text in from Sammy, since he's out there in California right now. And, you know, he says minimum wage in California is $13 an hour, right? So that's about $22.53 a month. And, you know, people are silly to think that somebody can survive on $1,000 a month with these stay-at-home orders, is what he's saying. You know, how is this working? Anyway, this is why we've got to get back to work.
Yeah, in California, the rent average is $1,800 for one bedroom.
Right. So whoever's getting minimum wage, even at $13 an hour, probably is doing without eating more than likely, since they're not working.
I'm on both sides of that fence myself, Sam, because being a part of the military, when you're working 12 on, 12 off for 9 months at a time, you
Yep.
add up all those hours. We're making like a lot less than $5 an hour.
Oh yeah, I
A
know.
lot less than $2 an hour.
An hour. It gets down there. No,
Well, what about
and
this, gentlemen? That Donald Trump is talking about taking away the income tax.
Yeah.
The actual taxes on what you're
Well-
being paid for. Wouldn't that solve all the problems? Because then the money would come back into the economy. We wouldn't need big politicians to say we need to have a stimulus plan. We're paying for these social welfare programs already.
right. Well,
And if we just take away that, it's like it's a weird thing to talk about, but
well,
they're trying to put us into that.
that was the one thing we came up, that I presented with Ted Cruz's people was about not giving people money to pay their rent or their mortgage at this point, but having those payments deferred, either deferred. If you were the mortgage holder and you had a rental property, we would give you a full tax credit for that amount of rent that you forgave, whether it's to a small business or for residential, and help the people that way so that they didn't have to worry about that bill. And for the mortgage, you can move those payments to the end of the mortgage. It's not that big a deal. And they could give a tax credit if they forgave the rental payments. I mean, something simple, but they make these things so difficult, for a solution, that by the time they get done with it, it doesn't solve anything. And I think that, that was a 90-day plan to do that. And people would actually get would have not had to worry about what's going to happen here in a few weeks when these eviction letters start moving out and these people spent that $1,200 stimulus check that may have paid their rent for that month.
Let me ask you this question, Sam. We're talking about taxes. That's a big deal across the board. Nice hat, by the way, Randy. Nice hat.
I
Let me
figured
ask
you might
this
like that.
question. Yeah, this
There
is
you
a
go.
serious question, though.
You need to put an
being
arrow
taxed-
through it.
We're being taxed by the day even more and more and more. As a constitutionalist, I believe in small government. Every time somebody asks me, what is a constitutionalist? I say for small government. Now, do we need some governments? Yes, I agree. But at a state and local level, this is what you and I have talked about many times, Sam.
Mhm.
So my question to you is where do we differentiate this? Because we have state rights and we have the federal government rights. And everything is going through the government. No matter if you're paying state, it's going through the federal government.
Right.
How come we can't have an organization or an entity, which I'm all against because that's another government agency.
It's another government agency.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. But how come we can't just have a state funding and then that state pays a certain percentage to the federal government?
That's
At the
been
end of the day,
proposed.
it's all going to the federal government, and then they decide what the states do in between. By
Yeah,
their
it wasn't
GDP.
ever supposed to work that way, but that's what it's
Never.
gotten to.
Exactly.
Ted Cruz and a few other senators that I know of have talked more than once about trying to just go with a flat tax and get rid of the IRS. No more tax returns, no more having to file. You work, you pay 10%, and that's it. It's very simple.
You're going to kill thousands and thousands of jobs for the IRS tax people. The Democrats will never let you do that.
But it's
Yeah.
such a simple
The
plan,
bureaucrats will never
and
let you do that.
it still creates the government still has their revenue stream at that point on income tax, but we don't have to pay out to people that pay in nothing, pay them, $10,000 in a tax refund. For what? Because that's where the problem is with this revenue thing, is we give back too much money that's collected on taxes.
To blow
Yeah.
the government bureaucracies.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because I think
Look at our own city and our own county. I mean, my God, the budget is big as it is, but we're so far in debt. Now, I don't understand why, other than positions like the city manager, Tommy Gonzalez. Okay, you want to have a city manager, get rid of the city council. I mean, that would be a stupid thing to do. If it
I
was me,
agree.
if I was God, I'd say keep the city council and get rid of the city manager.
You know,
But-
and we attempted to do that by ballot measure in 2000, well, actually at the beginning of 2019. The problem that we ran into is so many people here, you know, you hear them talk about it, but when you go to take action, try to get somebody to sign a petition on something like that. It's amazing how many people won't sign it.
But it all
Well,
goes
it
underneath
goes
Congress,
back
though,
to that
Sam.
dependency thing.
Exactly.
When we have our population dependent on government handouts, they don't want to sign something, even like getting rid of the city manager position, because they're afraid that somehow it'll work back and they'll screw up their government handout.
But that has nothing to do with their government handout. It could actually increase their government handout if you get down to it, because you're reducing a liability of a salary that's $500,000 a year almost.
But Sam, you already know, fear of failure outweighs the desire for success. And so
Let's look
people
at
are
risk, though.
fearing that they'll fail to get something, even if they might be successful. And the operative word is might be in the future.
Right. But there's a high, you know, the high probability of that, you know, getting on the ballot by getting the 20,000 signatures that are necessary for the ballot measure, you know, should be a fairly simple task. You know, we were able to round up about 12,000 signatures on it. But what amazed me was the number of people, like I said, that were afraid to sign it. You know, it's like when I ran that simple petition to try and get Escobar out of office, right? Just because of the stuff down at the Border Patrol facilities. You know, we were able to get about 7,000 signatures digitally on that. Now, could you get her out of Congress that way? No, because it's a Democrat majority. And even with you petition Congress like that, it's still the only people that can take a congressman or a senator out are the respective houses. And it takes a 2/3 majority to expel them. So anytime you run a petition like that, to try and get rid of these people, you know, it's pretty much a waste of time. But I wanted to see what kind of traction it would generate, even knowing that there's no way to do it.
Well, here's another problem, Sam. Okay, I didn't know you before I jumped in the political arena.
Right.
I didn't know who you were. I saw your name on the ballot in 2016 and wondered who's the Sam Williams guy.
Right.
So you coordinated both of these petitions,
Mm-hmm.
but I never heard about it. And so I'm out here as John P. Public, and I don't even hear about it because nobody wants to advertise that stuff at a level, and especially our Democrat news.
Right. They're not going to put it out there.
They won't put it out there.
The only thing that ever made the news over that whole thing was when I sent the letter calling for the resignation of the entire city council. That did make the news. I sent a press release to every media outlet, and it didn't do any good, you know, because they put it on there, and then, you know what, that was it. There was a little bit of traction for about a week, and it just died. That's all I can say is it died.
Well, let me bring this back a little bit. When it comes to government bailouts, look forever. Before this whole coronavirus, we've been bailing out California. We've been bailing out New Jersey, New York. Why have we been doing that as a federal government?
It shouldn't be.
For example, California has the biggest GDP compared to any other state in the United States.
They have the fourth largest GDP in the world.
In the world, but it's the first one domestically. Now, how is it that the government bails out California $340 million a year annually? Us, the taxpayers, us Texans, Arizona, New Mexico, wherever you're at, your tax dollar goes back to California in one way or another.
Right.
Now, fast forward to what I'm trying to get at. Look at the coronavirus. Look what happened with New York and California. The coronavirus, the stimulus plan that got passed, everybody got a $1,200 check. Great. That helped you pay your rent, which really didn't do nothing. But we bailed out New York. We helped bail out California because of their mishap, their mismanagement. So when we talk about bailouts, we're bailing out California, New York, New Jersey, and Texas and Arizona, and other states are paying for it. This needs to stop. That's what it really gets down to. Smaller
Exactly.
government, smaller bailouts, and more stricter policies.
People in those states who are getting bailed out need to feel the pain of not getting bailed out so they can vote in the people that will fix their finances. Take a look at Indiana. Indiana got taken over by a Republican governor a few years back, and all of a sudden their budget is surplus. But right next door is Illinois, who is
In the hole.
far they can't see straight. And they're
But
the
they
ones.
disguise it as a national emergency sometimes. That's how they get away with some of that.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we the people are suckers for it and only hear what we want to hear. And that's usually what the Democrats are saying, because when you hear bailout, every Democrat in the room says, how much am I going to get?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to. Elections,
In particular.
the entire U.S. election process, if you get it, and you can push it this way, it's all about the money. It's not about the country or anything else. And those of us that are running, I think for the right reasons, because we have stable income, we don't have to work. It makes, I think we have a better understanding of what's going on, because we live on that, as people say it, Randy, fixed income.
Yeah. We have to manage our money well, or else we don't eat.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Well, you have that. We have all the sense that you guys are making and talking about this, but then you have governors like Governor Cuomo, who justifies it by saying, well, you're going to give bailout to Kentucky, who doesn't bring in that much money, just because they asked for it, when New York, the state of New York, has one of the highest GDPs as well, and they need help right now, but they never asked for help, according to him, which we all know is not the case.
No, it's happened
help every year,
many times.
Well, I think you bring up the great point, though. That's exactly where government comes in when it comes to state and government. They say, well, we scratch your back. How about you scratch our back? And you scratch our back for 5 years, 10 years, and we only gave you a little bit of subsidies. It's like, who cares if you're Oklahoma, Kansas, or anybody, which, brings us all foods, these southern districts, these wheat belt districts. But they say you don't make enough, and you're going to have to pay for New York, California, these big entities. That's where the whole thing comes with state
not the way
government rights.
And that's what people don't. That's why people want to get rid of the electoral college too, because they can force. They want to be able to force the idea to get, so that the coast or the big 5 states control everything in the United States. 10% of the states will control all of this.
That's what they want. But yeah, go back to the original Constitution. I've said this many times before, Sam. The Congress people, the senators and representatives were of the people. They gave up their job temporarily as a grocery store clerk, a livery stable guy, a banker, a grocery store owner, a farmer, a rancher. They went to Continental Congress, did their little stuff, and then came back and started in their job.
Back to work.
Yeah, so they understood the needs of the people. Now we got career politicians like Beto O'Rourke, Vince Perez, and then Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. They all went to school to learn how to be a politician. They all went to school to learn how to play the game. And then they went into the job with the only expectation is to smooch the people over enough to get voted so they can get that high salary all the way through. Nancy Pelosi is becoming a millionaire because of her century.
Hundreds of million, $100 million. In this, the entire system was not made for people to get rich off of being a public servant, and that's what we're seeing today.
Or to stay in as a public servant for 150 years, like some of these guys have, or
Like
gals.
Joe Biden. all of them. There's so many of them that have been up there so long that they think that's the only thing that they know, and they don't understand what happens where the rubber meets the road at
I
all.
even
anymore.
believe that we should do this, gentlemen. You know how what was it, Roosevelt? He did the 2-term limits, but he ran for 3 terms.
No, Roosevelt actually was on his.
Yeah, 3.5, I believe, 3.5.
He died in office, and the amendment came out after Roosevelt was
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
And
But
that's
what I'm
why the
trying to get-
amendment existed, to limit the number of terms the president can serve.
I agree with you. I'm not arguing with that point. But what I'm trying to say is, with these representatives, Senate and or Congress, House, you should only be able to run 3 terms max, 3.5, because we know how Congress works. It's every 2 years. Some of these places.
Right.
So how are we having lifelong politicians that we're all talking about today? I agree with you. We should only have 3 terms and a half, if that.
I think it's
Pass it.
yeah. With the way I saw it was I would almost change a representative to a 4-year term and limit it to 2 terms if you want to do that, or 3 terms max. A senator is 2 terms.
But
Yeah.
that has to be an amendment within itself. But how
It
are we
does.
going to have an amendment when Congress and Senate won't vote on it?
Nope.
That's,
It's been
that's
put
how
forward
far
more
lost
than
we are
once.
right now. They won't vote on their own degeneracy. They won't vote on that.
I would in a heartbeat, and I know other people that would too, because we
Well, at this point,
understand
maybe
what's
we
going
would,
on.
yeah. But I don't
We
think
see
you
the
have another
problems,
time till
and
now.
it's time to make that change that's necessary.
I think the
Well, we
answer's
need to
right
put
in front of you
pressure on
guys. Just bring back gentleman duels.
Just bring back what?
Gentlemen's duels.
Yeah.
Dueling.
I shoot you, you kill me, you won. You won the argument, yeah.
Well, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr,
Haven't
that's how
nobody
they
died.
settled their difference.
Haven't nobody died in that one, did they?
No, but it's funny.
I mean, think
Hey.
about who would be in Congress at that point, though. You're not going to have a whole lot of people that are snowflakes in Congress.
I agree.
Well, you think back, you look at back the way the Congress and the Senate acted back then, they had knockdown, they had brawls going on the House floor. They'd start throwing punches and stuff.
Hey, but Sam, they're voting on Zoom now. They just passed the law. They could vote from the comfort of their home. It just got passed 24 hours ago, Sam.
I know,
That's
but
a bunch of crock to me.
there's several representatives that are actually fighting against it, because it still hasn't gone through the Senate yet.
The reason why I think that's a bunch of crock, and let me just, I don't know, paint the picture for you, is because I even believe Washington, D.C. was the hub of having diverse dialogue, conversation. Now they're saying, oh, the coronavirus, we can't be in contact with humans. We can't talk to these other people. We got to vote for in our comfort of our home.
You know what? We
This
hired
is
them to do a
bull
job
crap.
to be there in Washington, and that's where they need to be.
But this is how they
Coronavirus or no kind of
bypass the
coronavirus,
responsibility.
they are essential workers.
Exactly, but that's how they bypass the responsibilities now. You can't make deals, legitimate deals, even though they all make backdoor deals. Don't get me wrong, I'm all aware of that. We all are.
Oh, yeah.
But isn't that exactly what Washington, D.C. was, the Constitution? Is to come there and debate, to argue,
Yes.
man to man, face to face, in the halls of Congress and the halls of the House?
Exactly.
Now saying, oh, we're going to do it through Zoom because it's 2020. We just voted on it. That is a scary thing that nobody's talking about.
No, I honestly agree with that. And it's like we were talking about, pretty soon you're going to be able to vote from your computer sitting at home. That's what they're going to try next.
I told you that for 2 years already, Sam. Yeah.
I see that coming. I see them trying to pass something to do that as well. And I disagree. We don't have enough control over the voting system as it is right now.
Then they'll probably go to, well, you voted Democrat in your past election, so we'll just assume you're still a Democrat and vote for you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what these things come down to. It's the same thing with mail-in ballots.
Yeah, there was a glitch in the system. There was a bug. I do metadata. I understand bugs. I understand glitches, but it's easy to say there was a bug when there's really not a bug. Somebody pushed the button behind the scenes.
Sure they did.
Somebody's shadow banning you behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, I'm just, it just amazes me that how corrupt the entire political system is in the United States. And the more we dig every day, the more we see. And when you bring it out, you are the bad man, always. The orange man is bad. The
The
I'm
white
bad.
man is bad. Yeah, the white man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is what it is when it comes down to that. But when you are trying to make a point to expose what is really happening in this country, that's the problem. You're the bad guy. Because everybody's just, they're trying to keep the status quo and keep themselves in power.
Exactly. You didn't go with the mainstream media status quo.
Well, it's a propaganda machine.
Well, that's
It
what
may
we
not
have
be
to
exactly
promote within
state-run
each other,
media,
Sam.
but it's close.
Sorry.
A lot of news media all they are propaganda driven.
Where are they getting most of their money from? Exactly. Big Pharma. You turn on NBC.
We're the only country in the world that advertises
You didn't
drugs
take
on TV.
Viagra. It's like, hey, it's Big Pharma that gives them that airtime. We don't have that kind of money as local.
Well, look how many big pharma advertisements you see on every news network that's out there. There's tons of them. And it's not just CNN, MSNBC. It's the big three: CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. All run these big pharma ads consistently.
Yep. That's where they get their money and their airtime. Exactly.
Right?
You get somebody to buy ads on your small platform for Viagra, you'll become big soon. No pun intended, Sam.
Well, it's almost
Right?
like affiliate selling. You're right, though, Randy. It's almost like affiliate selling, and I do that. I do a little bit of affiliate selling, and you do get money kickbacks from that. But since they have such a big platform, they have such big audience, they get 100 times more than anybody else.
Sure.
So it's become a relationship. It's become a symbiotic relationship at this point.
Exactly. And like for you, if you get somebody like a big farmer to buy an ad on your place, they're going to spend just a very, very tiny little money. And then they're going to want to see how they make more money based on your airtime. And so they're saying, well, we're not getting billions of dollars every year from
Johnny.
Yeah.
We're getting billions of dollars from Fox, CNN. And so why bother with Johnny? And so you're just, like you say, that symbiotic relationship, you're screwed. If you don't have the audience to sell a lot of money, you're not going to get good backing, period.
No, it's absolutely.
Kind of like me as a candidate. Nobody really knows who I am. Everybody just assumes that Vince Perez is going to be commissioner for life, or when he decides to leave, like Beto O'Rourke did and Veronica Escobar did, and then maybe he'll be president one day. So why bother vote? I'm a Republican. What's my vote going to count? Why bother? But I can't get out there and get my name known unless I go back to the grassroots things and start knocking on doors. Which
Well, we're going to
I
have
can't
to get
do
to do it. We're going to all have to get to doing that here shortly.
Yeah. But if you have big money like Veronica Escobar does, it's easier for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's all dollar driven. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but you have to weigh that though, Randy, because you're right. You might not have planned murderhood in your pocket. You may not be a hardened criminal thanks to Viagra, but you have a soul still. You still have a soul. You haven't sold that out. You can still be who you are and still do it the right way. I think that's what people actually appreciate from you guys. That your values aren't being tainted and your integrity is still.
I appreciate that.
I did catch the innuendo.
Yeah.
I think, Bob, I sent you the link for San Eli News. And I don't know if you know this, Johnny. San Eli News at the beginning of the month sent out a questionnaire to all three commissioner candidates. that people in the precinct asked questions of the candidates. I was the only one who responded. So it kind of tells you that the current people don't care. They just don't.
No, they don't. And we have to
I-
get people to care.
I would say something else, Randy, and I don't mean to correct you. I'm not saying you're wrong because I agree with you, but I think it really comes back to education. These people are not educated enough because they've been lied to for so long by the television, by their tablets, by YouTube commercials. So I agree with you, but I think it's an educational thing at the same time. They don't know any different. Look at the whole coronavirus. You had people die in your family. Sam did as well. We're not saying it's wrong or it's not real. It's just we're being lied to about the numbers. As such, when it comes to voting and or who voted for Trump, as we all know, Trump won, but they said he never had a chance. It's all about manipulation of numbers. So I agree with you. It's an educational thing, though. I would say, and you and I are on that.
Take that just a little step deeper, Johnny. The average person, well, El Paso's 80% Democrat. The demographics show that.
They do.
It's it looks like it's right in line with the Democrats for race, but it's really not. But a lot of Hispanics in El Paso, they're Catholic, good, hardworking people, but they've been told all along their lives that they have to vote Democrat. It goes back to the Kennedy times, and even before that, back to the Franklin Delano Roosevelt times and the Great Depression issues. But they don't know that the Democrats of today are not the Democrats of back then. They just assume that, you know, their parents and grandparents and great grandparents said it this way and this is the way they'll do it. My mom was a perfect example. So I'm Catholic, I'm whatever, but the Democrats believe in pro-abortion, not going to work, and I've been a hard worker all my life, and to hell with you and your religion. They don't know that here. They don't know that, you know, the average Democrat doesn't know that's what the Democrat platform is, and therefore they vote for Democrat. And you're right, it is education. And how do we educate the people? Only by word of mouth, because damn straight ain't going to let us get out and do a news show on it. You know,
No, and that's why we have to try to use these kind of platforms to talk, you know, to get people to join in.
so
you
you're
know,
one.
Elbow grease. That's how we
You're
do it.
one-
Elbow grease. Outwork them is what I always say.
Well, that's what I need you all three of you advice and guidance in doing for me, and I'm sure Sam could use it as well. But you're 100% right, Johnny. It is education.
No,
You know?
it is. I
And that's
agree
one-
wholeheartedly.
I decided to jump in and run because I became educated on how badly precinct 3 is being representative, not to mention the entire county.
Well, it's the entire county. It's across the board. I mean, we saw in 2018, you know, that we had one Republican in office at the time, and that was Andrew Haggard, right, as a county commissioner for District 4. The Democrats just threw, because they knew that they could get that seat, they threw Carl Robinson in there, knowing that he would coattail the Beto O'Rourke vote. And that's how the seat got. It should have never flipped, you know?
Well, I
But
even heard
because it's-
rumors, Sam, that
it's why
Beto
it's-
O'Rourke. I even heard rumors, Sam, that Beto O'Rourke handed it over to Veronica Escobar, pretty much behind the scenes.
Well, I don't know.
Where you are with that, but
You know,
heard those rumors.
There had to be something there, I'm sure, because Beto endorsed her, and she endorsed him, and she went on a campaign trail with him all over the state of Texas.
Can we call him Francis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can call him Francis.
Robert Francis. Let's call him by his real name.
There we go.
Anthony Pedro Aguero. Robert Francis O'Rourke. Yeah. Let's call him by their real names. That's what I even told Randy today. I've even
Yeah.
told you that, Sam. Let's call him by their real names.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Vincent.
If we're going to be politically correct, PC, let's call them by their real names.
Well, that's
Well,
not even.
Well, my name is
That's not politically correct. That's you know, an insult at that point.
Yeah.
well, my My name is Randall Joseph Edward French Panther de Stephens.
Did you say French Panther?
Panther de Steffensmeyer. I had to throw a little Spanish in there.
Got it.
Sorry.
I'll write that down. I'll write that down. I won't forget.
All right, fellas. I guess we'll be back Monday and see what we can stir the pot on Monday. You know, tomorrow's Sunday. Everybody takes a day off and try to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, this 6 days a week. I'm probably, you know, once we get back on the street here, I'm looking at probably only doing these on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
But Sam, you're not going to relax. Your wife got back home a little after 10 last night.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I've had the Rugrat all day. Johnny was talking to me, and Jameson was being Jameson
He was a
already.
collie critter, to say the least. Yeah.
Hey, since he's pulling up on furniture now and trying to walk around the furniture, it's 7 months old.
Your
He's
grandson after a Scotch whiskey?
Yeah,
I
I didn't name him.
All right, guys. It's been a pleasure talking with you tonight.
Hey, it's been great tonight. We didn't have all the fun we had last night. It was a little better conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, fellas. I'll see you guys. Talk to you later on this weekend. I know.
All right.
Let's take care.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I'm gonna play the song one more time for everybody.
Torn, stepped on, burned to hell. Some even spit into my face. They take a knee, and our country is disgraced. Blood's been shed on me like rain. I felt their tears in every stain. No matter what you put me through, you can believe I'll always stand for you. Raise me over the battle. From sea to shining sea. I'm the red, white, blue. I'm here. Stop the hate and let's join hands. Try together and make America great again. Monuments are coming down. They're pulling statues to the ground. History can't be replaced. Where men have died, time can't be erased.